we think about the stories of Bonnie Griswold and things you like to share. It'd be a time where if you would like to come up here in a little bit, we're going to start with the siblings going through stories that they want to share, and grandkids, some of them wanted to as well. No one is forced, but if you'd like to, again, after those go through, to think about any story you would like to share, to think about it. And sometimes you don't want to get up here behind a lectern or here and talk, but make sure you share it through the evening and through the weeks to come. I know all the kids, all the family, maybe they haven't heard some of the stories, and oh, I never knew that. And so it really helps bring up the memories, and it really helps. So at this time, we're going to start with Shelley Reed. She's going to begin. And if you do need a microphone, the microphone is up here, and you can just turn it on and off. But if you can just speak up so everyone can hear those stories.
I'm going to turn this on so everybody can hear in the other room. Okay, now can you hear the other room? Okay. This is very strange to me. This is about my mom. And it seems not too long ago I saw a lot of you at my dad's funeral, 2007. 1 week ago today, April 1st, 2015, I lost my mother, becoming physically parentless. But I'm glad that we have a wonderful Father in heaven. There are a lot of stories and things I could say, but I know that other people want to share, so I'm just going to give a little bit. So many people were touched by her life, and I see many people here, and thank you very much for coming. I've been reading some comments on social media, and I really appreciate just all the love. Thank you. On June 29th, 1947, a precious baby girl named Bonita Gale entered the world. The second child born to Simon and Johanna Decker. She was a cute little Dutch girl. She grew up in a good family and married and became my mother. In recent months, she had made us laugh not only with her natural but acquired sense of humor. After arriving back home from yet another trip this past January, my mother, aka World Traveler, had asked Renee, "Can you give me that thing from when we robbed the bank?" Soon Renee learned that it was something in her suitcase from that trip to Florida that she just took. She once asked me about 2 months ago, "Who's going to feed my doll?" And she was serious, but pieces didn't always fit, so she couldn't always say what she was thinking. As my daughter Hannah looked bewildered, I quickly answered without missing a beat, "Don't worry, Mom, I'll take care of her." Because I didn't want to upset her. She didn't like it at first when she couldn't say correct things, but after a while she began to say, "Oh, you know what I mean." And we did. It's been hard. It's been a hard 7 months, but we made it through, and all along the way, Mom didn't really complain. And she always said, "God is good," and she had very little pain, and we were thankful for that. I have many memories with her, including last summer, just before she got sick. She finally came over the end of August, and we visited the little shops in my hometown, something I'd never gotten around to doing in the past 8 years I lived there. She was home with my grandma, and she had to watch her and take care of things, and she was a school teacher and all these things she had to do, so she didn't come over, but she finally made it. And she also went to the art fair with me in July. I've been asking her for 5 years, so this was like a big summer for me, and then she got sick, so that was short-lived. But she was a great mom, full of energy and creativity, and always very busy. Watching over grandma, traveling, babysitting, garage sailing, camping, going to the beach, shopping, cruising, which I'm sure you guys have heard about her cruise trip, working at various jobs, playing piano, singing, teaching, and a host of other activities. She even sang at my weddings, and she was also there for the birth of all 4 of my children, playing midwife for the first and third, because the midwife didn't show up. Some milestones in her life were, at age 67, having her last and 17th grandchild. So she got to see them all, and that was a really nice blessing. And 65, she was moving out of my grandma's house and the home she had grown up in all her childhood and everything. She went back there to take care of grandma. So that was a pretty big thing. At age 60, she graduated from college to become a school teacher. At age 58, celebrated her firstborn's 40th birthday. At age 57, she went skydiving, and she was still jet skiing at age 57. At age 55, she had her first peanut butter and jelly sandwich, believe it or not. She always said peanut jelly was too sweet. Yep, she could eat like 6 Fannie Mae buttercreams in one sitting. At age 50, she had her first ever ear. And then all the other years before that, there's, highlights of grandchildren, so I don't want to, let you guys say stuff. And those are the big ones that I remember in the last 17 years of her life. My mom was a funny and fun-loving, creative, caring person, and she had a good sense of humor. She was a wonderful cook and an excellent baker. Most of all, she was a great teacher with good morals and a beautiful witness of a true child of God. She really was a great example that way. There are a lot of adjectives here, but I believe she surely deserves them all. She really was a great mom. We often would tease her about her hair. My sister and I, when we were young, we thought it was black. And then when she got her little gray earmuffs, hair color, she decided to try different colors. Finally ended up with orange. Again, my sister in agreement with that color. That was the color we thought. We never really didn't know her true height on account of her hair. She could be really sweet and often bought gifts or treats when we saw her, especially since I didn't see her as much as the other ones. Well, Roger, he's really far away. But she loved poetry and had us memorize some when we were younger. Robert Louis Stevenson, The Swing. No, I'm not going to quote it now because the space in my brain for memorizing poems was so small that it got compacted a quarter of its size from the original. So only parts of poems are left, sorry. But she certainly was a trooper. By the time we ended up in Calumet City, we moved 11 times since my existence. 11 times in, I think it was 12, 13 years. So that's, almost 1 year. On April 7, 1966, she was giving birth to a 7.5-pound baby girl in a small hospital in Indiana. And that is how she became my mother.
Hi everyone and welcome. We had a party for my mom 6 years ago, and one of the things I did for her was I wrote her a poem, and I forgot all about this poem, and then when she got sick she said, "Can you get that poem out again and read it to me?" So I said, "There's a poem?" So I went and I found the poem, and I was able to read it to her just a couple of months ago, and it was a really special poem, and I thought it really described her well. But so I decided to go ahead and read that same poem today, but I did change it a little bit, obviously due to the circumstances. So here it is. There's one special woman in whom I came from, and this special woman is the one I call Mom. From my earliest memories, she is there. The time she devoted today might be rare. South Haven, camping, volleyball, and the pool, teaching me how to drive in the Subaru. We lived in Georgia, Alaska, and Indiana too. Later, she'd love every new place she could travel through. Magnum PI, Heart to Heart, Quantum Leap, and Night Rider, mint chocolate chip ice cream, and an occasional late nighter. Fireplace naps, mystery novels, garage sales, and air supply. She never tried beer before she was 50, and I don't know why. Eagle brand cookies, plain hamburgers, and banana muffins. Better Way bread, milk from the farm, and it was carob chips or nothing. At church, she would use her spit to fix my wild hair. I would cry because I knew it looked crazy, but I didn't care. She'd let us play in the snow, the sunshine, and the rain. With few restrictions, the neighborhood was our domain. We grew up on State Street, and that's how things were. I could go on filling pages of memories about her. This mom has shaped me and who I am today. She taught me about love, God, work, and play. The loving affection I give now to this day, I learned from her. This was her way. Her godly example was simple and true, as a good person like her would strive to do. She taught me to be responsible and do all my chores, but she knew how to have fun, and she was never a bore. At some point in my life, I turned my own way. I learned some tough lessons that I'd regret someday. But through it all, she remained faithful to me. She didn't give up. Instead, listened patiently. That's one of the things I appreciate the most. She was always there, no matter what the cost. As I am now blessed to be a mother with 3 young boys to raise, her example of love will remain and the wisdom of her ways. Family was her passion, her love, and her life. There with me each time I gave birth, well into the night. She loved writing poems, telling stories, and making up rhymes. I got to hear my own birth story exactly 43 times. Our boys loved her playfulness, affection, and attention. My only regret, her life didn't come with an extension. She truly loved them, and I hope they will always know, because it made her sad that she would miss seeing them grow. We look forward to a day when we will be with her again. How blessed we are with memories to cherish until then. So before I close, I just want you all to know she was a wonderful woman, and we will miss her so.
39 years ago, I met one of the loves of my life, though I didn't realize it then. It would take a few years before I realized how much and why I loved this woman so much. When I was a little boy, we had an empty lot next door to our house. And when she told me she could not marry me because she was already married to Daddy, I told her I was going to build a house next door so we could visit each other all the time. And although I felt loved because she came to every softball and basketball game and cheered me on like I was the best player on the team, and she took us to the park and pool and nearly every day in summer it seemed, and though she took us camping in summer in Florida in the winter, and we have lots of memories of things we've done and places we've gone, Mom and I had a special bond. I don't mean to say I was shown any favoritism, but we enjoyed the same things: reading, games, travel, children. One time she told me, "One day when you have kids, you'll realize how much I love you." And when I had kids, I realize how much you can love somebody. It's not just about who she was, but how she influenced others. For me, specifically, influence is a euphemism in the beginning for shaped my character by means of a paddle. Later, this influence was more of a silent, or sometimes spoken, sometimes pushy, sometimes not so pushy form of communication. However it came, I knew it was because Mom loved me and she wanted what was best for me. And there was never an ulterior motive. I always looked forward to sharing everything with her, whether it was something one of my children did or accomplished, whether it was a trip we took, whether it was something work-related. She always listened with enthusiasm. And there was nothing I would talk about with her that she would consider unimportant. Mom was a very pleasant woman, but I think everyone here knows that. Even through her final months, she did not complain. It was difficult to tell how much pain she was in because she rarely expressed it. She still thought of others and their sufferings. And when her writing was too bad, she could not write cards to other sick people, she asked us to write for her. Mom was firm in God's purpose and love. She knew God has a plan, and even through her life's greatest trial and culmination in death, that God's will would be done. In the last month or so, we didn't have much in the way of conversations. But every so often, Mom would give me something intelligible. On Sunday, a few days before she died, she said her last coherent words to me. She said, "I love you so much." When I was a little boy, when I would get Mom Mother's Day cards, I remember writing in them, "You're the best mom in the whole wide world," just like every other kid I think does. But now even more than I did then, I believe that's true.
March 31st, 2015. My brother texted me 46 minutes ago. It is 8:47 at night. His text said, "Mom is fading. My dear mother will likely die in the next few hours after I write this. Somehow in these words, my solace is found. I revere my mother to the depth of who I am. She will always be an example and a light. She was a woman born of ordinary circumstances, but always, and I mean always, put others first. This is my life. For life itself is worth little but the value we create by the actions we initiate. So many walk an endless road and fall by the wayside, never reaching anything, never accomplishing meaning. My mother did not. She accomplished much. She accomplished love. That is hard to match. Many people are remembered in history for their contribution to mankind. But when the road is tough and character counts, when salvation can be lost for a dark turn in our vain, lustful life, if their contribution doesn't come to mind, what did they really contribute? It's a question we all need to answer. What is it about life that really matters if it isn't to help others to find the door that leads to the real life that will follow this physical and temporary existence? I've never suffered a hungry night. I've never known what it's like to be without a home. I've never worn old clothes because it's all I had. But when I pause for a few minutes to consider the many, many who have, I am moved and I can feel what it is that matters. It's God the Father and God the Son who make us mean anything at all. It is the plan they have for us that gives us hope, gives life hope. It is their grace that allows us to even fathom what that means. My mom stood in the gap. She brought me up and my siblings that we might further God's purpose. She loved us as much as I can imagine being loved by another human being. And as simple as that might sound, it is the test we all get to take, but I'm unsure of how many succeed. Years ago, I heard a message on what is true success. And I thought about this message for some time. And when Mother's Day came around, it was on my mind. So I asked my mom that question and then answered it for her. She was true success. Her heart was true, her intentions pure. And she gave her entire self to the making of her children. She exemplified kindness, hospitality, encouragement, fortitude, selflessness, and most of all, she dedicated her life to us, her kids. We will all be forgotten one day as the generations pass on, but the life she lived will influence many generations to come.
Okay. Is this on? So, I guess I don't know where to start, but first off, I'm the oldest grandchild, and I lived with her for 2 years. And in those 2 years, she taught me so much. She always told me that life was about lessons, and that if you learned a lesson, that it was worthwhile, no matter what the lesson was. She was adventurous, and we went on a cruise last January, a year ago. And she wanted to keep up with me and my aunt, so we told her she had to take shots of tequila with us, and she did. And she was going shot for shot, and I just remember that, you know, she didn't care what it was as long as she could have fun with us, that it was meaningful for her. And that was one of the most fun vacations I've ever had with her, and it was, surprisingly, I didn't know it would be the last, but definitely one of the best experiences with her, and she was always lifting me up. I called her for advice before anyone. Her sage wisdom and open-minded attitude always taught me to see the positive. And I have something else I wanted to read. I have a Chinese brother that lived with us for several years that had a big influence with my grandma. My grandma really loved him, and he had a special relationship with her. So he said something, he's in China right now, but he wanted me to say that grandma has always been a great leader in his life and his path, and that she was a significant mentor in his teens, and all the frustration that he had living in the U.S., he went to her, and that she will live in his heart forever. And I just want to second that as well.
All right, well, we're all here today because we love a common person, and that was my grandmother, Bonita. And my grandmother is loved by myself and many other loving grandchildren. And the list of grandchildren is a little too numerous, and I don't want to leave anyone out by accident. So to be brief, I will just say that there's many grandchildren and that we all loved her, and she loved every last one of us. And what I personally am eternally grateful for is my grandmother's gift of music that she shared with the world. And the gift of music, she really wanted to share that with her grandchildren, as she was a music teacher and she taught those pupils and she cared about those kids and their musical education. And she helped many of her grandchildren, myself included, get interested in music. And from her teaching of grandchildren piano to singing hymns on the stairs at her South Holland home, she could unite the family in a way that made us really realize what it means to be a family. And I still to this day am thankful for my grandmother, and she gave me a piano that was from Calvin Christian, which is across the street from her South Holland home. Excuse me. And I still to that day play this piano, and she just couldn't live with seeing it go to a dumpster, so she ensured that one of her grandchildren got that piano from that school, and I'm very thankful for that. And so just in her honor, we should just let there be songs to fill the air for Bonita Griswold, or colloquially among the grandchildren as Grandma Bonnie. So.
I was thinking of something to say. I was stuck because there were so many awesome experiences with my grandma. But one of the most awesome was going to the beach. She was so fun to build sandcastles with. We would make the most elaborate sandcastles. Grandma also made such cool boats that never collapsed. She loved to play with her grandkids in the summer. We went outside to play softball and nukem, and there was other sports. And when I see sandcastles or play these various sports, it reminds me of my kind, playful, and most of all, loving grandma.
Kara wanted me to read this, or she couldn't do it, so. It's a poem. It says, Grandma, beautiful, wonderful, sweet, and funny. I loved you to pieces, I loved you to bits. I loved you when it rained, I loved you when it was sunny. I loved you in life, I loved you in death. You played piano, and you made me play it too. In the choir you sang soprano, and because I liked it, I sang too. You helped Lexi with her math, and when Kenny played the piano, you were overjoyed you set him on that path. When they said they loved you to bits, you thought, but I love you to sprinkles. Roger you teased to give a hard time to, but he loved it and so did you. Abby was your cute little boo, who could smile and dance your frown away. But there's so much you did for me, I can't fit it all here. You took me to places so that I could see, museums and beaches and even Wisconsin dells. Then making banquet when I spent the night, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's really black and white. You and me having fun, talking late. I can't accurately express how much I long for your smile, but I do know that yes, I miss you a lot, baby doll.
I don't want to limit anyone, but if anyone still does, happy to have anyone come up. Wonderful stories, wonderful things to go through. One of the things that Bonnie asked that we would do as well, you've already seen the sheets of paper on your seats, is we're going to sing 2 hymns that she specifically asked that we would all sing at her funeral. So if you would all please rise, we'll take the first one.